Hi, I'm Robert Tolpe, and today I'm talking about people who are so transphobic that they have attained a state of borderline psychosis. Now, I identify as a cisgender man. I was assigned male at birth, I go by he, him pronouns, I have no qualms with my identity. While I have somewhat of a grasp on my gender identity, some people claim to know my identity with perfect certainty, and they've determined, with methods they claim to be accurate and reliable, that I am a transgender man, as in I was assigned female at birth and identify as a man. Now, of course, that is a factually inaccurate statement. I'm not a trans man, and whether I am trans or cis really wouldn't matter in the context of YouTube or in most contexts outside of the bedroom or a doctor's office. So what is the motivation behind these people's comments? The ultimate insult you can hurl at a man is one that implies that he resembles a woman in any way. Think of young men who call each other the P word or the F slur or simply gay. What does it mean to be called gay? If you take it at face value, you'd only be half right. I remember from my useless gender studies textbook that will never get me a real job that sociologists have conducted studies about this. One group of college athletes called each other gay constantly as an insult, at least until a team member revealed that they were gay. It became clear to researchers after extensive interviews that simply calling someone gay was not only an accusation of homosexuality to these young men, it meant that the accused, because of their alleged attraction to men, was acting too much like a woman, and that is where the insult lies. So where am I going with this? Well, when your average person speaks about trans men, it's clear they don't view them as men. Depending on a trans man's age, they view him as a confused teen who has been indoctrinated by the woke mob, or as a butch lesbian who has taken things a little too far. Often, when your average person speaks of trans men, they call them trans women, because to them, they're simply women who got caught up in all this transgender madness somehow. So, to loosely paraphrase George Carlin, think of how transphobic your average person is, and remember that half of all people are more transphobic than they are. To be a trans man to these extra spicy transphobic people is to be the most delusional woman they can envision. And thus, calling a cis man a trans man is the most powerful insult they have in their arsenal. And that's kind of sad if you think about it that way. While this explanation is perfectly reasonable when it comes to explaining why internet trolls call cis men trans, knowing full well they're wrong, it doesn't explain why some commenters seem to fervently believe that I am trans and that they were actually able to determine that just from looking at my face. Though it's tempting to deem these people crazy, people don't exist within a vacuum. Believe it or not, this delusion that you can know who a person truly is from their looks is a cultural one and not an individual one. To all those who remember being forced as seniors in high school to read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, I'm sure you recall being confused about many of the references to 18th century European culture, and I get it. Shelley's writing is rather unintelligible without further knowledge at times. Take this passage, for instance, where Victor Frankenstein is going gaga over his gorgeous biological cousin. She was now a woman in stature and expression of countenance, which was uncommonly lovely. An open and capacious forehead gave indications of a good understanding, joined to great frankness of disposition. Her eyes were hazel and expressive of... Okay, so why is Elizabeth's five-head turning Victor on so much? To understand that, we have to travel thousands of years into the past, all the way to Athens in the 4th century BC, where philosophers like Aristotle commented on the merits of using someone's outward appearance to judge their character. These were the Western beginnings of physiognomy. While using facial characteristics to determine one's intellect, predisposition to criminality, and you name it, has been disproved in recent history. If you went to university in the year 1400, you would have been taught it unironically. At the time, it was cutting-edge science, along with bloodletting and alchemy, and prominent scholars published many influential treatises on the subject. Physiognomy is, of course, a total crock, but while most people probably can't even define the archaic word physiognomy anymore, they often are unknowing disciples of the ancient pseudoscience. Enter an age where anyone can learn about all of human anatomy on Khan Academy. We have access to the entirety of recorded history and science online, just to Google away. but we are just as ignorant as our ancestors. Most people have an understanding of human sexual dimorphism. They can point to features that usually distinguish males and females. X, Y, and XX chromosomes, and Adam's apple, a pronounced brow bone, and don't forget what. Some people have become self-taught experts in this science. The most learned of people, upon meeting someone, will protract their mental calipers and begin to measure someone's stature, their hips to waist ratio, and eye the back of their neck for the hint of a pronounced occipital protuberance. Unfortunately, for individuals that partake in this activity, human sexual dimorphism is not as pronounced as elsewhere in the animal kingdom. While it may be child's play to tell apart male and female praying mantises, for instance, male and female humans are more alike than we are different, and this is in our natural state. Clothes, footwear, and makeup can transform the shape and appearance of the body and face. Not only can we ornament our bodies to resemble the opposite sex, but even the bare body can be sculpted artfully by doctors with hormones and surgeries. There are, of course, trans people early on in their transition who may not be able to blend in as easily without access to these surgeries. You may think you can tell easily that they're transgender, but can you really? Thousands of cisgender people elect to undergo the same surgeries as transgender people to feminize or masculinize their appearance. For example, while the media won't shut up about the very small amount of young trans men who get top surgery, 18 to 20,000 cis men each year get male breast reductions in the US alone. And I use the word men lightly. I know doctors who have treated cis male patients as young as 16 years old who go under the knife for gynecomastia surgery, even though gynecomastia, or the overdevelopment of breast tissue in males, is just a natural side effect of puberty, which often becomes less pronounced with age. While trans women may get many procedures to feminize their appearance, cis women also get rhinoplasties, laser hair removal for their beard shadow, chin augmentations, and, although rare, some even get tracheal shaves to conform to feminine beauty standards as well. So can you really point to a single feature or constellation of features that allows you to tell with certainty, without the assistance of technology, genetic testing, or a medical evaluation, that someone is trans? No. But we do have access to technology and genetic testing. Obviously, you can just test the chromosomes. Well, you can, but that's cumbersome and may even be inconclusive for nearly 2% of the population with intersex traits. Surely scientists have discovered the answer to distinguish the cis-hets from the LGBTs by their outward appearance alone, right? Well, they've certainly taken a crack at it. In 2017, the Institutional Review Board at Stanford University approved a study conducted by Michael Kosinski and Yulin Wang. It used then state-of-the-art machine learning technology to identify homosexuals with 71 to 81% accuracy. Surely incredible advancements have been made in the field of physiognomy, right? I mean, these are Stanford scientists. Well, no. The paper itself says explicitly that physiognomy is a flawed pseudoscience with uncomfortable origins in classism and other isms. They train the computers using human input. The technique is simply an automated way to profile someone based on their appearance. It's also really bad at doing its purported job. When the researchers unleashed their revolutionary gaydar technology on Facebook, accuracy dropped from 80% to, in some cases, no better than a coin flip. But do homophobic surveillance states care about accuracy? No, of course not. Most will probably go, ooh, fun new technology. Heads you're straight, tails you die. Uh-oh, I got some bad news for you. Despite physiognomy being discredited to this day, terrible studies like this only succeed in inspiring bad actors to do bad things. Transphobes, especially, will jump at the chance to automate their prejudiced thought process, as evidenced by recent events. Enter Sal Grover, a woman with a brilliant idea to make an app just for females. Okay, when a younger woman defines themselves as a female, a term which literally implies your sole function is to produce eggs and die, I'm immediately going to question whether or not this woman is trying to make her language trans-exclusionary. I know I'm making a snap judgment about her right now, but that's exactly what her app does. It basically profiles people. While it doesn't say explicitly that it is a social app for TERFs or trans-exclusionary radical feminists, it has a gender verification process that uses machine learning to detect your gender to ensure that only the most female of females can access the app. The app is implementing the same techniques that the Stanford University researchers used to detect someone's sexual orientation, except this time, they're using it to detect gender. Of course, there are average differences statistically between men and women that make such a technique more accurate in this case. Men, on average, do have more pronounced noses, brow bones, etc. But what if you're a woman with a pronounced brow bone and a big nose? Then the AI is going to say you're not female, even though you very well could be cisgender. The AI's confidence interval, which is roughly akin to the minimum amount of certainty that the computer has to be to let someone into the app, is set at 95%, according to their website. I imagine they turn away a lot of people. There are also other questions surrounding whether or not the AI performs differently when encountering people of different races. What if the data set the AI is trained on, like other data sets used in the past, doesn't include many Black people and, like other machine learning methods, has a higher error rate when encountering a Black face? Are cisgender Black women not female because the app says so? And of course, what about trans women? Their features might be different on average when compared to cis women. And what happens if the app denies a trans woman entry? Well, that's the point. It's supposed to be a female-only space. It excludes trans women by design. But even if you didn't want trans women using your app, you should care that the app is likely turning away cis women away at the door. But if you're a certain kind of person, you probably care a little less if those cis women being turned away are Black or considered ugly. And I'm not saying that Sal Grover is that kind of person, but I will assume that she despises trans women. I mean, come on, she's Australian. That's part of the TERF Commonwealth. May God save the biologically female queen. Speaking of certain kinds of people, though, there are obvious patterns when it comes to the targets these transphobic individuals pick. While annoying white male YouTubers with nasally homosexual voices are easy pickings for these individuals, the favorite targets of these special kinds of people are Black women. There is a stereotype that Black women are mannish and more masculine somehow than white women. This is because femininity is largely synonymous with whiteness, at least in the West, and when you're Black, your femininity will always be in question. During the Obama administration, Michelle Obama was under attack from transphobes. Her appearance was picked apart in conspiracy videos on YouTube, and every fold in her skirt made headlines as a potential you know what. This wasn't just a fringe theory either. This was widespread. Even Joan Rivers joked that Barack was, quote, gay, and that Michelle was a T-slur. While that feels like yesterday to me, it may be ancient history to some. But there are plenty of recent examples. Megan Thee Stallion has been the subject of countless transphobic jokes and conspiracies. Now, misogynoir is not the focus of this video, and I'm not an expert on it at all. Turn elsewhere for that. It's worth noting that it isn't just Black women under attack. While people really hate Black women, people just hate women in general, and any woman who rejects femininity renders themselves a pariah and exposes themselves to transphobic attacks. Lady Gaga is the ultimate case study in what happens when a woman is androgynous. She openly associates herself with the queer community and embraces queerness herself. And because of that, the rumor that she is transgender or intersex has shadowed her career since its inception. While other celebrities simply ignore rumors or make press releases, including their birth certificates, stating that they are not, in fact, transgender, Lady Gaga very clearly doesn't care. She has officially said that the rumors are untrue, but she has maintained a very lighthearted attitude towards the accusations because they're absurd. If she wasn't cis, she would tell the public because none of her fans would care. I don't want to invalidate people's anger towards people making wildly inappropriate comments about their bodies, but I feel like cis people becoming furious at accusations of being transgender may stem from the transphobia all of us internalize because we live in a transphobic society. Many feel like they're being called some kind of freak when being accused of being transgender, but in reality, such accusations are not that insulting because it doesn't matter if you're transgender or not. Largely, People want to believe that they can tell if someone's transgender, so they can feel like they have some semblance of control over their lives. When someone is openly discriminatory towards a group of people, especially when they wrongfully feel that they are justified in their discrimination because they believe this group of people poses a danger to them, being unable to quickly identify whether or not they should discriminate against a stranger is scary. I am in an unfortunate position of telling people an inconvenient truth that no, you can't always tell if someone is trans, and you shouldn't want to at all if all you're going to do is treat trans people like garbage. At the end of the day, trans men are men and trans women are women, and that's not dogma, that's just the truth. If people view a person as being of a certain gender, and that person identifies as that gender, then the reality of their womanhood or manhood or non-binaryhood has been constructed by all parties involved. Someone's gender is a product of society around them and themselves, not their chromosomes. Our biological features do not just define us. We are intelligent beings with the collective power to define what those features signify, and thus, no visual inspection, genetic test, or artificial intelligence can challenge the reality of someone's gender. So instead of universities, individuals, and tech startups investing their time and money in accomplishing the impossible, they should stop and reflect on what their end goal is, especially when that end goal is discrimination. Anyways, I'm Robert Tolpe, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and maybe even give your token of support on Patreon, and I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye!